Welcome to Whisper of Haunted Waves. Have you ever heard those chilling tales of people waking up in a morgue or at their own funeral? It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but for some, it's a terrifying reality. Today, we're diving into some of the most unbelievable, yet completely true, stories of people who were declared dead, only to be found alive. These aren't just urban legends, they're documented cases that will make you question everything you thought you knew about life and death. Let's start with a classic case from the 19th century that still sends shivers down spines. Her name was Essie Dunbar. In 1915, Essie, a 30-year-old woman from South Carolina, suffered what appeared to be a fatal epileptic seizure. The doctor on the scene pronounced her dead. Preparations for her funeral began immediately. In those days, things moved quickly. Essie was placed in a wooden coffin, and a funeral service was scheduled for the very next day. Here's where it gets interesting. Essie's sister lived in another town and was desperate to see her one last time. She begged the preacher to delay the burial until she could arrive. The preacher agreed, but by the time she got there, the service had already ended. The coffin was about to be lowered into the grave. Distraught, her sister insisted they open the lid so she could have one final look. The ministers, wanting to comfort her, reluctantly agreed. They unscrewed the lid, lifted it open, and to everyone's absolute shock, Essie sat up in her coffin and smiled at her sister. You can imagine the scene. Mourners screamed and fled in terror, thinking they had just witnessed a ghost rising from the grave. The preacher and two other men were so frightened they fell into the open grave, with one breaking 3 ribs. For years afterward, many people in her town were convinced she was a zombie and would cross the street to avoid her. But Essie Dunbar was very much alive. She went on to live for another 47 years, passing away for real in 1962. Her story became a local legend, a bizarre reminder that sometimes, even doctors can get it wrong. Now, let's fast forward to a more recent and equally astounding case. Meet Walter Williams. In 2014, in Lexington, Mississippi, Walter, a 78-year-old farmer, was pronounced dead by the local coroner. His heart had stopped. He wasn't breathing, and there was no pulse. He was placed in a body bag and transported to a funeral home to be prepared for embalming. The funeral home workers wheeled him into the embalming room, ready to begin the procedure. But as they were about to start, they noticed something strange. The body bag was moving. They saw his legs kicking from inside the bag. Understandably freaked out, they unzipped it, and there was Walter, very much alive and kicking. The coroner was called back and was completely baffled, saying, "I've been a coroner for 12 years, and this is the first time I've ever seen anything like it." They believe his pacemaker may have stopped and then, miraculously, started working again. Walter was taken to the hospital and, incredibly, was talking to his family just hours later. His family called it a miracle. Sadly, Walter did pass away about 2 weeks later, but not before giving his family and the world one of the most astonishing stories of a return from the dead in modern times. These cases often involve a condition known as Lazarus syndrome, named after the biblical figure Lazarus, whom Jesus is said to have resurrected. It's a rare medical phenomenon where circulation spontaneously returns after CPR has failed. Essentially, the person appears to die, but their heart starts beating again on its own minutes or even hours later. The exact cause is still a mystery to medical science, but theories suggest it might be related to the delayed action of drugs administered during resuscitation or a buildup of pressure in the chest from CPR. It's incredibly rare, with only a few dozen cases documented in medical literature, but it happens. Consider the story of a 45-year-old woman in Colombia. In 2010, she was pronounced dead from a heart attack. She was taken to the morgue and prepared for her funeral. Her daughter came to identify the body. As the morgue attendant was preparing to hand over her mother's body, he noticed slight movements. They quickly realized she was alive. She was rushed to an intensive care unit and managed to recover. Can you even imagine the emotional roller coaster her daughter went on that day? From grieving her mother's death to witnessing her incredible return. Another shocking incident happened in Poland in 2014. Janina Kolkowicz, a 91-year-old woman, was declared dead by her family doctor after her heart and breathing stopped. Her body was stored in a cold storage unit at the local funeral home for 11 hours. That's nearly half a day in a morgue. When the funeral home staff opened the refrigerator to prepare her for the service, they were stunned to see that the body bag was moving. Inside, Janina was shivering and complaining of being cold. She was taken home, warmed up with a bowl of hot soup and some pancakes, and seemed none the worse for wear. Her family and the doctor were in utter disbelief. The authorities even launched an investigation, but no one could explain how she survived. Janina herself had no memory of the event. These stories aren't just medically fascinating. They have profound human elements. Take the case of Carlos Camejo in Venezuela. In 2007, Carlos was involved in a serious highway accident and was pronounced dead at the scene. He was taken to the morgue, where medical examiners began an autopsy. They made the first incision on his face, and that's when the corpse started to bleed. The examiners realized their horrific mistake. Carlos wasn't dead. He said the pain from the incision was so unbearable that it woke him up. As if that wasn't traumatic enough. While this was happening, his grieving wife arrived at the morgue to identify his body. She was directed to the autopsy room, where she found her dead husband very much alive, sitting on a gurney and in pain. The reunion was, as you can imagine, incredibly emotional and confusing. So, why does this happen? Besides the rare Lazarus syndrome, there are other factors. Sometimes, it's a simple misdiagnosis, especially in situations with limited medical resources or chaotic emergency scenes. Hypothermia, or a severe drop in body temperature, can also mimic death. It slows the heart rate and breathing down to almost undetectable levels. There's a saying in emergency medicine, "You not dead until you're warm and dead." This is because a cold body can sometimes be revived even after a long period of apparent death. Certain drug overdoses can also produce similar effects, depressing the central nervous system to a point where signs of life are almost impossible to detect. These unbelievable tales serve as a stark reminder of the fine line between life and death and the incredible resilience of the human body. They challenge our definitions and force us to confront the limits of our medical understanding. While modern medicine has made incredible strides, these cases show us there are still mysteries it cannot fully explain. It's a humbling thought, isn't it, that someone can be minutes away from embalming or burial, only to open their eyes. What do you think about these incredible stories? Do you know of any other similar cases? Let me know down in the comments. It's a fascinating, if a little unsettling, topic to explore. If you found these stories as mind-blowing as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the most incredible and mysterious events. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.